That was in Vancouver, was
Oh, right.
the windows and the, yeah. But here
Yeah, yeah,
it's not too bad. Just a few weird
yeah,
construction things, but
yeah. I
use
that
glasses.
yeah, yeah, for like 3 years, but only
Huh.
like only because I look so good with them. No, it's because I actually found out I have astigmatism in one eye, so it like the text is slightly more blurry through that vision
Mhm.
compared to like my other eye.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
optometrist was basically like, look, you'll feel more comfortable if you have them,
Mhm.
but you don't need them. And then it took me probably like 18 months to start wearing them like consistently. Um,
Mhm.
and now I just prefer it. It just, everything's just a bit more sharp. Um,
Yeah.
so anyway, uh, recording has been started. I
Mhm.
guess, yeah. I mean, first, how have you been?
Yeah, doing well. Uh, just living, doing my thing. Working a lot, freelancing mostly, but um, yeah, it's going well. How about you?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm good over here. Like we just uh trying to get new products out, but
Mhm.
finding that there's, I mean, like our ethos at Matte Paint is to always raise the bar. And so when we
Mhm.
go to release a product, we're like, okay, what are the metrics that we have to meet to achieve what we want to
Mhm.
achieve? Which means that
Mhm.
we've had products in the pipeline for like 3 years, that we've
Yeah,
been working on, which is kind of like not
yeah.
it's counterproductive in the sense that had we actually released them 3 years ago, we might have actually
Mhm.
benefited from them. But however
Mhm.
the chips fall, the situation is as it is, and we're getting very close to some of it.
Mhm.
You'll see some of the new technology in uh, films coming out later in the year. We'll
Mhm.
be doing some promotion around that as well. But it's been, yeah, super busy. So, but you know what? I'm actually really excited. I was hoping that Steph and Ashton could
Mhm.
could make it to the live stream, but I have
Yeah.
never made a skybox for a game. Like I've made
Mhm.
lat longs, right? I've made them for film, but I've never made
Mhm.
anything for um for games. And the
Mhm.
irony is that like my passion for this industry came from like a desire to go into the games industry, and then I fell in love with like
Mhm.
cinematics for games, and then I
Yeah.
realized that actually what I loved was the photoreal cinema look. I didn't want to go into games because I didn't want to be having to cut
Mhm.
corners. So
Mhm.
like you've done some skyboxes, right?
Mhm. The only for one game so far, and
That's right. That
it
was,
was
what was it
it's
called? The
for
shooter.
1037, Splitgate, and
Slick.
we're on a
Yep.
new game called Impulse, and it's different than what I expected it to be for Skybox work. Because when they hired me, they were just going, we need photorealistic stuff. We're trying to get away from very stylized stuff. And so I was like, okay, let's go for it. And then oddly enough, I found it to be very similar to VFX in terms of like what the quality was. Uh, but
Hmm.
you're doing more optimization of how things function in the game more than anything. And then with the Skybox work, it was the part that I found probably to be the most challenging was like how do you get the gameplay space, which is like where all the characters are shooting, fighting, blowing up, doing their thing, to integrate with the extended environment, and making sure that is seamless, and how to incorporate a sky with that. And so the first thing that I did when I started this game company was I bought an Xbox and I downloaded a ton of games.
Mm.
Um, Mainly like who our competition was for. I was like Battlefield, Halo, and just see like what guys were doing. And I was when I would load the game in, I wouldn't even play. I would just sit in front of this, like so close to the screen and just look at the sky just to see like, is anything even moving? Is
Yeah,
anything even happening in the sky? And
yeah,
most of the time, nothing was happening. So I was like, well, okay, how about we treat it like movies where you're just doing everything on the sphere, you're doing it a lat long, and see if that works. And sure enough, it did. So then it was like, oh, okay, well, this, I mean, of course, it has its gives, it has its takes, but let's approach it that way. Um,
um,
mhm,
one of the funny things I remember was last year when the Battlefield 6 beta got announced and was
mhm,
an open beta. Um, I jumped into the game and was just walking around in the world, and you can imagine like being other players because I was just
mhm,
walking around just looking at the environment because I just wanted to see what the art was like, and I wanted to primarily wanted to see the skyboxes. And I want
mhm,
to show one of the trailers soon because just for visual stimulus,
mhm.
right? But I'm walking around in this world, and of course you've got your weapon, right? And I'm just staring up at the sky the whole time. And I laughed with a friend of mine who's also from the 3D world because we were both in there. It's just
Mhm.
like looking up at the sky and thinking about how people running past playing the game would be like, what are
Mhm.
these two idiots who are just like looking up at the sky?
But,
And just walking around like peacefully,
mhm,
but still with like rifles. Um,
yeah,
so I'm going to
um,
share my screen, but I just want to kind of put this on
um,
in the background while we talk. Let me just bring it up. Um, so
'cause mhm,
is
it is.
your yeah? So this is the Battlefield trailer for I don't know, something railway.
Yeah.
Um, I
Okay.
forget what it's called. But uh, I just
Mhm,
want to kind of put it on in the background while we talk, because
mhm.
I wanted to ask like what's the resolution of a skybox that you're creating?
It's really small. In VFX, you're typically working at 32-bit, 64-bit. With games, it's 8-bit, if not 16 if you're painting, but to get
Hmm.
those details. And the actual resolution tends to be either 2K or 4K. But this is where it gets a little different, and like why I was really hoping for Stephanie and Ashton, because they were working on Gears of War, and they're with it, they have to deal with what's called like world partition, which is, if you think of like a grid system, if you're on one small rectangle of the grid and you go past that rectangle in the grid, the world expands into another part of the grid, into another
Is
section.
that kind of
And
like UV tiling?
yeah, kind of like UV tiling, and you're on one UV tile, and when you walk into the next one, the world keeps expanding. So that performance of developing a skybox for how it translates from one to another is different.
Mm,
But with like what Gears of War does, they just added volumetric haze to everything, because then you don't need as
yeah,
much of a sky, or you can use the same sky and rotate it or something.
yeah.
So I was very curious how they do something in that sense,
Hmm.
where my experience has been you're working on one map, kind of like what you're showing here, and you're building the entire vista and the sky for it.
Mm,
And you can get away with sky like on this for it being maximum 4K resolution.
yeah.
Uh,
I
mm,
was I was looking at this trailer when they released it a while ago, and I feel like some of these shots have like probably 8K skies in them. I'll skip to something in a little bit, but one of the things I think that defines the difference between a skybox for film and a skybox for games is that
mm,
in film it's literally just the sky, right?
mm,
Like you might have mountains and things as well, but
yeah.
like that you'll be working on, but they're kind of treated as separate separate things, whereas the Skybox
Mhm.
artists, at least from what I understand, happy to
Mhm.
be corrected, but the Skybox artist in a game is instructed to create the whole environment that goes like the 2D
Mhm.
wrapper that goes around everything that's 3D. And some of that Skybox is going to be like
Mhm.
2.5D, some of it's just going to be straight flat on an image. Like what I'm
Mhm.
seeing here is like a lot of, I don't know if this is 2.5D, but certainly back here looks like, you know, very basic
I would
card
say that looks very,
geometry.
but really, I would
And
say
then beyond
both.
this, yeah.
Some of it would be cards for sure. Others
Hmm.
more geo. Um, for what is this, Battlefield? Yeah,
Yeah.
I I think they used more geo than cards on it just because of how big the maps were.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
uh, anything like on this frame that I would think would be 2D would be like if you have some clouds going over the mountains into some nested valleys, uh, and that would be kind of it, and maybe the sky. But
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
think a lot of the mountains on this one would probably be 3D. It also kind of depends on the studio itself. So for a map like Battlefield, because their maps are massive to play in, it's going to be a lot more heavy 3D than
Hmm.
anything. So then you become like the Vista artist. You're not just doing the sky and implementing something. You're building the whole extension of the environment itself. Whereas like what Splitgate was or uh, Impulse that I'm working on at 1047, you're on one individual map that is like in a small arena shooter map, maybe like half the size of this Battlefield map.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need as much
More
geometry. You can,
confined.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can paint more on the domes
Yeah.
to make life easier. So it all kind of varies on the maps, the levels, uh, what you're going to be needing to do. Uh, if it's an open world or a closed off world, there's a lot of variables like that that really kind of determine what you're going to be doing for
Mm.
Vista. But like
Hmm.
the short answer for anyone that's wanting to know about being a skybox artist, you're no matter the game, you're working on the play space between the play space and the background, how
Yeah.
whatever field or depth of field that may be.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing is it vastly depends on the budget for the game. Um,
Mhm.
and I don't really just mean the financial budget. It's also like, what's the poly budget? What devices it's supposed
Yes.
to go on?
Mhm.
And for a game
Exactly.
where, let me think of an example. Yeah, like a first person shooter that takes place, like
Mhm.
Far Cry, for instance. Maybe not
Mhm.
the best example, but or Apex Legends or one of those arena
Mhm.
shooters. A lot of the action is focused on the ground, versus
Mhm.
something like Battlefield or a racing simulator, where
Mhm.
a lot of like in a racing sim, the character is
Mhm.
basically the bottom third is the ground, the top two thirds is sky. So the sky becomes more
Mhm.
important. Um,
Mhm.
Same
Yeah.
with Battlefield. You've got actual aircraft that can fly up and do stuff, and so
Yeah.
you need to develop and put more performance budget on
Mhm.
that, on that sky.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, is there some? I think you mentioned that you've got some skyboxes that you have as examples you can show.
Mhm. Yeah. Do I'll share my screen with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Um, because then I'll open up Unreal. Can you see my screen?
yeah.
Yeah. So for this one, this was for Splitgate 2. This was by far my absolute favorite environment to do and work on, because it like encapsulated like most of what I had learned in that year for working with the game. And so it was a mix of building like mini rock assets, building the terrain in itself, and making like that tileable, building the structures, the sky itself, putting stuff like light rays from the sun on its own cards, building some
Then
foreground structures. Mhm.
my impression here is that the blown out like colors is just because this is a screenshot in the game, right? And that was just the moment that
Mhm.
that happens. All right. Like
Yeah.
you're not handing over a file that is blown out itself, right? Oh, actually, yeah. Sorry. Also looking at, I realized
Mhm.
that the stream is pulling your colors through with like very vibrant whites.
Oh, oh my.
Um,
Okay. No,
are you
that's
on an
nothing should be blown
HDR
out.
monitor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be
Yeah.
why. So for
Um,
anyone watching, like these super blown out highlights, it's not. That's just the way that the stream is pulling through. You can probably go to Ian's art station and
mhm.
see what the images look like. I'm going to bring that up on my side as well.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Um, but it was so you can kind of see like where the play space is in the foreground, and then how it needs
yeah,
to connect to the background. And what was kind of interesting with this, and this is where I started to really learn more about skyboxes, which was how do you make it very seamless uh, while taking in consideration composition, color, what are your elements, optimization? How do you take, for example, a small kit of objects that you've made that are maybe a set of three or four, maybe five, and how do you give enough variation to those that you can use them 100 different ways?
yeah,
And I really love that because it's a lot like photo bashing. How do you take one image and make it utilized a number of ways so it looks different each time?
yeah.
Um, that was kind of like this, but with 3D assets. And then,
Might get you to stop sharing your screen
mhm,
so that I can share my. I'm sharing your art
um,
station here anyway.
oh,
Um,
okay.
and I just want to do it because, like,
Mhm.
looking at that first image, it was massively different coming through your stream than it shows here.
Oh,
Like, like for
oh,
us, we
okay.
couldn't see any we couldn't see any detail up here. I don't
Oh,
know if that's going to get captured in the final
mhm,
video, but I just wanted to make sure
mhm.
that people could see all the nice details because there's so much detail in this. So you can just tell me what to like. Tell me how to navigate, and I'll drive.
If you scroll all the way down, I took a 360 panorama of it, um, and you'll see like how the environment was fully. Yeah, like either
Oh,
of
this one
those.
here. Yeah,
Yeah, so you can see, and even like looking down a bit, you can see like, all right, here's where the game space is, here's where the
yeah,
extension of the environment was. Um, and with it, it's like, okay, how do you take what the concept artist gave? How do you work with performance? How do you make the kits that you need to kind of be deliver both of what the concept did and what is needed for the final? And working with optimization on that,
yeah.
and making it seamless as much as possible. Uh,
Mm,
I think that's the key more than anything. You're really
mm,
finessing a lot into it,
mm.
um, with the skybox.
And I
Um,
guess because as the environment's being built, they might change the atmospherics, which means your skybox
mm,
has to adjust as things get moved around.
exactly, yeah. Lighting changes quite a bit. If anything, you're working really close with the lighting artists, from my experience
Yeah.
of it. and a bit with the environment artists of, oh, hey, you've got some assets I can take and put it in the Vista, and take maybe a heavy asset they've got and make it lighter. We're also doing something that's called texture packing. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, vaguely, but you should explain it.
So when you're projecting on cards, and you're UVing your elements on cards, you do what's called texture packing, where you're putting data in the red, green, and blue channel. Oh no.
Oops.
Oh, there we go.
That
For texture packing, you're putting data in the red, green, and blue channel, and that way you can play with the animation in the material of how that texture is working. If it's animating the blue channel, but yet the green channel does a highlight that flickers or whatever, it can really vary. You're also doing that with materials, with regular materials to be able to get more data out of it. And that kind of goes into a lot of optimization stuff. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, these are super cool. Was this for, like, was this just a like, is that for a game level that, like, this level, or was that for a cinematic or something?
That was just for the game level itself. You'll see on my art station a bunch of different levels and arena maps, where the skybox is very different. Some skyboxes were doing full blown out vista work, like what we just were looking at. Others were just painting on a dome. Others were less vista and sky and more the in-between area between the gameplay and the open extended vista, to really make that feel seamless. So it always kind of varies. It's why I was very curious what Ashton and Stephanie were doing, because their way of working for vistas is quite different from what I know.
I really like these. These are so cool. It, like, I'm so jealous of you, because, like, I haven't been able to do any kind of work like this in a long time. But I remember the stuff I was doing for the Lego Movie 2, and it was like lots of these kind of just heavily atmospheric, artistically driven skyboxes that we had time to actually do, to like build them up. Whereas in visual effects, two things are different, vastly different there. One, you don't have time. They're like 4 days and it's out the door kind of. Well, it's not out the door, but they're like, we need it done in 4 days. And then the other thing is, you don't get to be that artistically creative with them, because it usually has to match a plate that's shot on set, or something that's very, like, it's usually very realistic, like the output, whereas games have a lot more creative, like, expression happening. And then you just got so much more time to build out the idea. And it shows to someone who, like, has done this kind of work before. Just even this little, like, light layer of cloud here, and the subtle glows that you've got on these stars that are like slightly different colors. I can really feel like, I feel like the atmosphere is thinner here, like directly above. Oh wait, I'm not sharing my screen. You should have called me up on that. Sorry, I'll have to show you exactly what I was talking about. Again, let's go here.
You get time to finish.
This one. This is the one I'm looking at, and the little tuft of cloud I was talking about is like just here. Can I do that? Yes. Like there's just a little wisp of cloud, and then over here we've got these stars with slightly different glows, and then as you look up, like it actually feels like the atmosphere gets thinner as I look directly above the camera, which is exactly how it feels when you're sitting. I've sat out there capturing HDRIs at night. I know exactly how it feels as you, on a clear night, as you start to look up, things get darker. There's less haze that's reflecting light, and you feel it in this skybox. And that's what you don't really have you don't get the same amount of time in visual effects.
You really don't get that time, and that's where you learn the tricks to figure out how to get that kind of juicy detail. So that's where it becomes kind of handy. But with games, you really get the time to really finesse it, make sure, double check it, play with really small value increments to see like, all right, does this work or not? This one was probably the hardest Vista I ever worked on, just because of the entire background. It's literally 2 elements regurgitated again and again and again to fit, and then painted heavily on the sky itself, and then did texture packing to get like the storms coming down. But you really have time with this one. Where like in movies, to do something like this, unless it's I don't know, ILM, sure, then you've got time, but even then, not really.
Yeah, like the thing is, this wouldn't even exist in film. It's too artistically surreal, right? Like, and then if they did need something that was like epic boiling cloud with so much like dynamics in it, they would end up doing a lot of that in effects. So you would end up doing maybe some of this background stuff, and like a cloud like this would be effects, or a shot plate or something. But you would just get this. Well, I never might be a bit here because you got Mad Max, right? Which was this looks like Mad Max to me as a game. Right. Well, we should cut to the point then. The point of doing this was to talk about the challenge and what people need to actually produce for the challenge. So why don't you step us through, I assume you've got the brief with you. Or can open. Let's find that. Have you got it?
No, I don't have it.
Got it here.
I mean, the main brief is just creating a skybox. I'll put it out there. I think it's up to you as a challenger to go to whatever extent you like for making the skybox in the Vista. If you want to do something for the environment, I would personally encourage to do so, because that does really create what the skybox is. It's not just, hey, here's a sky on a dome and done. Really get creative with it of, okay, what is my environment? What would my character do in this environment? What is the narrative of this place? Do you have a specific structure that connects with the environment, with what needs to be happening? So there is a lot of room to play with on this. I believe, if I'm right, you as the challenger get to create your own like brief of what you want it to be.
Yeah, cool. I'll quickly read through the main stuff here, so, and then we can discuss it. So challenges you. The challenge is to design an alien skybox and the world that exists beneath it. So that's the world that Ian's talking about, is essentially like, why is it, what kind of alien environment is it? So I guess before I go on, just because it's an alien environment does not mean it doesn't have to be photorealistic. You could go with something that's kind of another Earth, really. It's a very earthy place, but just maybe gives you a bit more flexibility to run with things that maybe are a bit more imaginative. Cool. So in games, films, real-time experiences, the sky is more than a backdrop. It establishes the scale, the atmosphere, the mood, and the sense of the place. Those are key words: scale, atmosphere, mood. You know, like really lean into that, pay attention to what that actually means and what you're achieving with it. A well-designed skybox can transform a simple environment into a believable world and shapes how players and audience experience everything beyond it. For this challenge, your task is to create an alien sky environment anchored to a specific location. So it's like one skybox is essentially what we're saying. Imagine where we are standing, what kind of world surrounds the character, and how the sky helps to tell the story. So there's a couple of different examples there. As Ian said, creative direction, totally up to you. Go with a Mars look, go with a Pandora look, go with whatever you want, Asgard, Battlefield. Like it's really so super open-ended. But the key component here is you're not just creating a sky. You're not just blending some images in. You're really creating an environment that would serve as a sky box for a game. So you don't have to create all the 3D like elements within. And that is why we have two pathways. So if you're not that confident in the 3D side of things, you can use pathway 1, which is more concept art, matte painting, 3D. And you know, this is your kind of workflow and some of the requirements. If you want to learn Unreal Engine, which I mean, at this stage, why wouldn't you? It's a really cool way to, like, I think Stephanie put together a little tutorial on how to bring a skybox into into Unreal, so that should be available as well. It's pretty easy, and it's a really great way of just like getting a sense of how the world feels. And therefore, if you're going with that workflow, then you've got some stuff outlined here that the things you can use. We will be providing some skies, but of course you can source your own and you can add to them. You can paint your own. The only thing we don't permit at this stage is using generative AI. I will get to that in a minute because it's worth parking as a specific thing. So there's a couple of minimum requirements, like you must at least incorporate one of the resources, one of the sky resources. We'll also be providing some image packs. I think the Rocky Alpine pack and a couple of others, because again, it's not just a sky. You've got to kind of create that full environment, like you saw in the Battlefield thing. We've got some mountains and things, as with Ian's examples. We do have 3 submission updates that we require. So you've got to have a concept of your piece, you've got to have a work in progress update, and a final submission. That you have to submit those in order to qualify for the judging and for the prizes. And the reason for that is so that we can see that people are progressing along the way, but also to make sure that you're kind of you're developing an idea, not just, you know, going with the first thing that came to mind. Okay, judging criteria I can skip over. Anyone who's interested in really homing in on that can read through that. Then the eligibility and challenge rules. These are also pretty, you know, these are logistical. I'm not going to go all over these, except for the AI generated component, because I want to make sure that like we are all for AI generated content, art, whatever, where it is one, sourced correctly, and two, used in a way that helps artists achieve their result. So the problem with AI generated, well, AI generation models that are out there is that they are almost all invariably trained on copyrighted material. And so you can't, currently at least as far as like legal legislation, it's all being argued about, but you can't copyright an AI image because it's already based on copyright. Plus it has no human authorship, and that's something that's a whole rabbit hole not worth getting into. So you can use AI assisted tools, but I would say if it's generating pixels on a page, it's a no-go. So a AI assisted tool is something like getting AI to mask an image, to cut out an image, or to grade an image. Those things are completely fine. But if you're generating a lake for your environment, that's something that's not permitted. And then, yes, in here, this is the tutorial that Stephanie put together of how to bring your Skybox into Unreal Engine. So I have just realized, Ian, that I've got a meeting in 10 minutes. So I think we can wrap this up before then anyway. But what after that, like, what are your thoughts, Ian? Any final things to cover off on?
The thing that there's two things that I would add to that, in a sense, in order for us to judge and to see everything cohesively, is that if you're doing it in Unreal, show a screen capture of the character running around, looking around. Make sure your light source is in the right direction. You can do that by just placing a cube and putting the light where it needs to match up. But just a nice screen video showing like, hey, here's what it looks like. If you go further with doing landscape materials or adding anything like that, I personally encourage it just to see how everything's tied together. But if you're going more the 2D route, I would like to emphasize of, if you're showing the dome itself, put where your play image is going to be looking at. Kind of like, where are your key shots of the sky with what you're seeing, so that way it's treating it kind of like how it is in movies, where you have those specific angles, just so that way we can see that you're paying attention to a large portion of the environment and the sky, because I think that is a key pivotal aspect of doing skyboxes. It's got to work for the whole 360, not just one little angle. Yeah.
Good. I'll just flick back to one of your pieces. I thought was that nighttime piece that I thought was quite a good example of, this one here. Like this is a great example, right? This is pure skybox bliss. Nothing too complex.
No.
It's all like, yes, we've got a ground plane here, but this is just for context, just for marrying up the atmosphere. You've got a really nice blend of lighting, heaps of atmosphere. You could do a lot more than this as well, because you could have mountains and forests and for everything, especially like if you imagine a game where the game is that you are an ant, the ant environment in the game, the 3D environment, is going to be like a backyard of or a 20 by 20 meter forest floor. which might be the 3D environment. But the skybox for that game is going to be everything beyond that, which means everything from like a log to a fallen tree to the forest and sky and mountains, everything would be skybox, because the actual world is really, really small. So you can kind of be as dynamic in terms of scale. You can include as much as you want in the skybox. Obviously, the more that you're adding, the more complicated your submission is going to be, and so you've got a lot more work. But oh, look at that! I found a seam. Oh, bad, bad. I found a seam in your work. Quit while you're ahead. That's all right. This is a classic, because you're working around 360. If you're painting at the edges in Photoshop, you're going to end up with a seam. So that's one of the challenges of Skyboxes. You've got to go and work out how do you fix that.
Do better than me.
Yeah, better than this crap. No, it's honestly awesome, and I mean that, like, I'm not even seeing that issue above, like, in the actual sky. So yeah. Cool. Well, Ian, thanks for doing this. I have to go, but I think we've exhausted this anyway. Like, we've talked about a lot about it. I've actually learned a couple of things. I didn't realize that texture packing was something that Skyboxes even had. Like, didn't realize that process was applied to Skyboxes. So,
well, knowing how to do that, I'm now doing it in VFX with stuff from MattePaintings. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much. Anyone who is seeing this, obviously this was supposed to be a live. We had some technical issues. We just decided to do it as a pre-recording. So if you're seeing this, any questions, feel free to email support, jump on the Discord server, just post it in there. And otherwise, there is the brief online. Submit to ArtStation, use the hashtag, follow the instructions. Let us know if you've got questions. And be free to ping Conrad, me, I'm sure Ashton and Stephanie for any help. We can even help you with some of the technical stuff in Unreal if you're struggling with how to get that placed in. I would also suggest ping Santa. She's great with concept work. She knows a lot about world building, far more than I. So I would encourage, ask her. And for those who don't, who are maybe new to our community, Santa is not the Christmas Santa. Santa is actually someone in our community. She's a really good concept artist. She's got a lot of experience with games. She's one of the concept art mentors in the community, so you'll be able to quickly single her out, and feel free to bug her along with any of the judges and myself. Cool. I better go. Thank you so much, Ian. We'll talk soon. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.